So you're joining us, Osama, from Jerusalem,
Yes, Mount of Olives.
Mount of Olives. Yes,
Yes,
it's, I mean, in Christianity, Jesus Christ cried at the Mount of Olives, so it's a sad place overlooking Jerusalem. One of the best views, but it's also
it
it's
has a
looking
sad
at
memory.
Jerusalem. Yeah, Jerusalem is like very. It's very sad. I mean, it's been very sad for many years. But I mean, with the genocide that is taking place and everything, it's everybody's heartbroken, and everybody's overwhelmed.
Yes, and what adding insult to injury, in my opinion, that we are even not able to show our sadness. We are not able to express our disappointment. We are not able to express our anger. Uh, in general, we are not able to express our feelings. I think you are very well aware of the massive detention campaigns that were waged against Palestinians from all over, actually, the country or historical Palestine, let's say, whether from West Bank, Jerusalem, or the 48 areas. Um, and sentences for intimidations, for posts on Facebook. Even like just making likes on some posts, it's enough to send you to prison. Uh,
Yeah, it's not like you need an excuse to be arrested. There's so many people under administrative detention, so you don't need to have an excuse to get arrested. All you have to do is just be Palestinian. It seems it's part of our. I mean, it's one of the tools. The prison is one of the tools that Israel uses to oppress us. So, friends, I think we're going to start. We expect more people to show up. Um, so, if you're in the U.S., our condolences for inauguration of Trump. Um, we we feel with you. It seems it's a new chapter in U.S. history. But Osama, it's the tradition in Sabil that we have the speakers introduce themselves. So
yes.
kindly introduce yourself and the topic. And this session is being recorded. So if everybody is aware, we have so people have asked us to help them and to shut down the cameras in the meeting. So we respect this. Um, and yes, Osama.
Okay. Thank you very much, Omar and Sabil and Kimo team for hosting me for this event. It's actually my pleasure to be with you today. As Omar mentioned, my name is Osama Rashik. I work as a lecturer in international law and human rights in the Faculty of Law in Al-Quds University. I also work as a legal supervisor in the legal clinic in the Al-Quds University, where we document various human rights violations in southeast of Jerusalem, particularly the various attacks and restrictions on academic freedoms, um, and also the various humanitarian vulnerabilities that more than 18 Bedouin communities in southeast of Jerusalem are at risk of forcible displacement and are facing these kind of violations. Other than that, I also work in as a consultant, research consultant regarding human rights, gender perspectives, and political economy analysis. The most thing I like is giving tours, as everyone knows. Um so yeah, I'm also one interested in the political reality and history in Jerusalem. So it's one of the things that I usually like to do, give tours that reflect historical and political reality of the city. Basically, as we communicated earlier, I think we will talk generally about the recent human rights issues, let's say, on the ground after 7th of October. Any um critical changes in the policies, and also maybe we can also touch more on attacks against the universities and the right to education in general, if we have time to allow that in general.
Wonderful, Osama. So usually, as it's the tradition in Kumi, it's our weekly meeting. We give our speakers 25 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes of presentation. So it's like an open forum. You can share a little bit of everything. So much is happening.
Mm.
I mean, as we speak, there's a 1 week, at least this is what they have declared, the 1 week military operation in Jenin, and they say that this is the first operation among many that will take place in the West Bank. So it seems that the war, or most of the war, has ended in Gaza because still there is violence, and I mean the genocide continues in Gaza, but it seems that it has been moved from Gaza to the West Bank. So, Osama, we are in your
Yes,
hands.
thank you. Yes, actually, this is true. I will start from where you have ended. There is a general consensus here, I think, and a common agreement in Palestine that the end war date and that the date of the ending the war in Gaza, it's the same date of starting the war in West Bank and Jerusalem, and we can see this from the acceleration of the attacks against Jenin and also the refugee camp in Tulkarem and Qalqilia. And as we were talking earlier, we are not optimistic. Indeed, we are more like you can see the fears in the eyes and words of each Jerusalemite about what is coming, who's next, and this exacerbation of the attacks that will take place in the West Bank and Jerusalem. And we started with the first moves, as we were also talking earlier, the closures over all West Bank. Now moving from a place to a place, it's almost impossible in the West Bank, and crossing to Jerusalem, it's even more impossible, unfortunately. We have been victims for a huge restrictions through the last week. For example, our center in the old city, the Community Action Center, around 5 out of 11 employees were not able to actually show up today and to come to the office due to the closures. I know, for example, the children of my brother and also many other children in Bethany who are their schools are located in Jerusalem, which is around 7 kilometers far from this village. They haven't been able to send their children to school since last week, actually. This is because, waiting at the what is happening and what the people are analyzing. Bethany, for example, is completely connected to Maali Adumim. At the end, going to Jerusalem, they need to take the same road. So what is happening that the Israeli army, they close Bethany, the exit from Bethany to the main road to Jerusalem. They close the only exit of Bethany, uh, which is, by the way, it's also the only connection between the north and south of West Bank. Anyone want to come from Hebron to Ramallah or to Nablus, or from Ramallah, Nablus to Hebron or Bethlehem, he need to come across that way. The Israeli army have been actually blocking this only exit for more than 200,000 inhabitants between 5 o'clock until 8:30, until all of the settlers of Maali Adumim, they go to their work and they arrive to their work safely, and then they open the exit for thousands and thousands of cars on 10. So who is in the queue on 10 on 8 a.m. until he reached the exit, he need at least 2 hours. So it became completely impossible for the children anyway to attend their classes on time. It's impossible this time. Uh, uh, Before all of that, I just want to draw like a general, let's say, image about what happened in particular in Jerusalem and generally in the West Bank, following the 7th of October and 2023 and the genocidal war that Israel responded by against Gaza. Uh, First, in fact, like it became first what Israel implemented against the Palestinians in Jerusalem, West Bank, and especially in Jerusalem and the 48 areas, were a terror campaign uh, against the Palestinian for not expressing their opinions, not expressing their views, not expressing their solidarity or sympathy with the victims in Gaza. This was actually recorded several times by several Israeli officials. For example, the head of the Israeli police in the 9th of October, he made in a press release said that anyone will show sympathy toward Gaza, we will make sure that we will put him in the fastest bus to Gaza, and me myself will make sure that he arrives there as soon as possible. So these actually official declarations for repressing of our right to freedom of speech and expressing our opinions were followed by a massive and brutally detention campaign against the Palestinians from all levels. And when I say from all levels, I mean young people, old people, educated employees, lawyers, engineers, teachers, uh, and all they have been actually been imprisoned, tortured, intimidated, only most of them because of some posts on Facebook. Many of the posts they carry, like, for example, sentences from the Holy Quran. Others, it's just, a humanitarian sympathy with the victims in Gaza. People were not able actually um, to post about anything related to that, and this is still continuing until now. So, for the first time, we have 11,000 prisoners in Israeli prison. We'd never had this number before. For the first time, we have more than 37 Palestinian prisoners from the West Bank, not from Gaza, from the West Bank, died in prison through the last year. This is the first time we have this number since the occupation. We never actually, all of the people who were killed or died because of torture or medical ignorance did not reach this number since 1967 until 2023. Uh, so, in fact, this campaign of terror was also implemented not only by the Israeli police and the Israeli army. No, indeed, there are more than 250 institutions in Israel, including universities, schools, clubs, bar associations. They have established what they called ethical committees. These ethical committees, their only mission is only to observe the Palestinian affiliated with these universities or clubs or associations and what they post on the social media platforms. Um, and then the associations themselves, they submit complaints to the Israeli police for their against their affiliated members. So, for example, in the beginning of the war, we have, seen Haifa University delivering more than 60 students to investigation because of some posts on Facebook. We have seen a termination for many students in Tel Aviv University. We have seen also the termination of Nadra Shalhoub in Hebrew University, and she's a professor uh, in that university. A huge repression was actually implemented, and the problem also is that, as every single Palestinian who have experienced prison in the last year have confirmed that um being in prison after October 7 is never like before. The level of insultation, the level of torture, the level of lethal force that are used against the prisoners, against the detainees, are unprecedented, actually, in the history of the Israeli prisons. People and prisoners we have me personally, I have many friends who have been confronting the occupation for years and years and years, and maybe they lost many of times their freedoms, they lost their properties, they lost many even of their relatives or of their friends, and they never stopped. Now they arrest them for a week or two or a month or two, of course, and then they get released. They tell you, "Khalas, I'm finished. I don't want to continue anymore." Things that they see in 1 week, they have never seen it before. So we are witnessing a huge campaign of terror against the Palestinians in in regard to freedom of speech and opinion. Other than that, other than, of course, the miserable situation present that you yourself you can easily research about it and read many about the situation there. um, Demolitions and what Israel is saying, implementing the legal orders, which is in fact the demolition orders that were issued against various Bedouin communities and various illegal, again between brackets, according to Israeli laws, illegal buildings have been accelerated during the last year. There are more than 20 Bedouin community, completely a 20 Bedouin community were erased from the West Bank, leaving more than 600 individual, more than 50% of them completely displaced and without any actually shelter. In Silwan, demolitions is also accelerating more than before. People are demolishing their houses by themselves, by their hands, in order to just avoid the high cost and expenses by letting the municipality demolish your house for you. On the academic sector, we have actually been victims for a completely freeze for the educational process in Palestine in the first 6 months uh, after the 7th of October. So, as you may know, Omar and others, a massive closure campaign was initiated in the West Bank, which actually did not allow not only the students, all the people to move. This has forced the university, all of the universities in Palestine, to actually deliver to distance education and deliver lectures through Zoom. Even with this, strategy, I cannot say that we succeeded actually to compensate the absence in the universities. And even though with all of this, we still witnessed a massive campaign of detention against our students. In the last year, more than 75 students only from Al Quds University were arrested. In all of the Palestinian universities, we have more than 650 students have been arrested. Out of the 70 students that we have now in prison, uh, only three that will be released next week. We know nothing about other students. The families know nothing about their children in prison. Unfortunately, there are since 7th of October no visits to prisoners are allowed. Even in we used usually sometimes when there is a court sessions for the prisoner, so we go to attend to earn some minutes with the prisoner, at least we can say hi to him, or he can like say, okay, I need some clothes or whatever, so we can bring it in the next time. After 7th October, they stopped doing any court sessions, physical, and they only present the detainee on a video conference. Neither the family nor the lawyer know actually where is his client is arrested. Um, Not, as I mentioned to you, we have tried heavily to communicate with families of our students. Unfortunately, the only sentence that we were hearing from all of the families is that we know nothing about our son. We know nothing about our daughter. Um, in the same time, we see also a reluctance in the Israeli authorities to cooperate with international organizations who are actually authorized to work on this field, like the Red Cross, for example. In the same time, we have also received messages from prisoners that we don't want to be visited. Why they don't want to be visited? They don't want to be visited because, as we knew from recently released prisoners, that any prisoner he who receive a visit, they torture him or they beat him just an hour or two before the visit in order to deliver again another message about the brutal environment inside the prison. In fact, what is happening now inside prisons, it's in purpose, and it's not only a kind of a punishment or more restrictions for the people inside the prison. It's more actually messages to the people who are outside of the prison. And this was mentioned in several even Israeli television programs, that we never witnessed such a calm environment in the 48 areas and Jerusalem like this time. We expected that it will be a volcano, but we were surprised for seeing nothing. Why this happened? Even the Israelis themselves, they refer to the situation in prison as the main reason that made this deterrence uh, within the Palestinian communities. Um, we now also, from our working يعني in several issues related to the residency issues to the Jerusalemite people who are living in in Jerusalem. We in Jerusalem, we don't have a citizenship, and we have a residency that is provided by the Ministry of Interior, passed on that our central of life is in Jerusalem. This 70 kilometers that Israel has confiscated more than 30% of it for public interest, which has become settlements. Another 30% were became as a directly were left to settlements. At the end, since 1967, Palestinians, they only have 14 in Jerusalem. They only have uh, 14 kilometers to live in. These 14 kilometers, 95% of it was full of buildings in 1967. And now we are required to approve that our center of life, the place where we are living, is part of this 14 kilometers since 1967 until now. Because of that criteria, 14,500 Palestinians have lost their residency and were silently displaced from Jerusalem. Those 14,500 persons, they don't have any other nationality. The Palestinian Authority are also not able to provide them with any citizenship, because simply the civil registration for the Palestinian Authority is under the control of the military, Israeli military authority. So they cannot add anyone on that record. So who got his residency withdrawn, he became not only stateless, he also became a paperless. He has no paper. In fact, he is a kind of a present absentee. He's physically presented, but on paper, he has nothing, that can approve his presence. Like those people, and we meet every day, like those people, they are deprived from all rights that they may have. For example, right to education. You cannot register at any school or any university. right to family life. You cannot get married. You cannot travel. You cannot move. Uh, um, Unfortunately, these kind of يعني, measures now, the Minister of Interior is taking it also more as a revenge against the Palestinian in East Jerusalem. And we start to see, for example, they in many times they freeze the family unification, or they freeze the, I mean, like the medical insurance, and they say, your central of life is not in Jerusalem, and you need to approve that. In the past, when we were responding them, in the past, they had a deadline they need to respect. For example, 3 months, 6 months. If you don't respond in that deadline, then the residency will automatically, the person will regain his residency automatically. After 7th of October, these deadlines were removed. Now you send a letter to the Ministry of Interior and you don't get a response for a year and 2 years and no response. So there is complete ignorance, even to the legal needs of the Jerusalemite community in Jerusalem. Um this is related to residencies and demolitions. In fact, in general, as well as access to justice, even if we have also a historical bias, and we know that the Israeli jurisdiction is not more than a judicial arm for the occupation, we were in the past able to gain some advantages from here, to win some cases from here. This is not happening anymore. I mean, like, for example, and according to Yesh Din, it's an Israeli organization who, document in particular the settler violence in the West Bank. Out of 90 complaint was submitted to the Israeli police against settlers who committed violence against the Palestinians, Israel has closed 85 files without even pointing out the perpetrator. So, in Silwan, for example, just a month ago, a woman was attacked by three settlers in Silwan. She went to the police office in order to submit a complaint against the three women. The police office, they told her, oh, okay, you want to submit a complaint? I want to tell you that in the same time, there are three complaints against you. Because when you shouted, when those three women, they attacked you and they grabbed your scarf, and they grabbed you from the car, you started shouting. When you shouted, you actually have scared those three settlers, and they submitted three complaints against you because you scared them. So what do you think? Do you want to proceed with your complaint and their three complaints, or you want to settle it peacefully? Of course, that poor woman said, okay, no, I withdraw my complaint and just let me go home. So we are in Jerusalem completely unprotected. There are measures that are taken against us, um, with some crowd, like the demolitions, others like silently as well. Uh, and yes, so I don't know if you want me. This is in general. In fact, sometimes when you have a lot of things to say, it became even like a little bit difficult to organize. I will like also if people are interested to hear about particular things in general.
Thank you, Sama. I mean, we are all overwhelmed. Like every day, there's an escalation. We feel that the situation is getting worse and worse and worse. Um, Not only of course, in Gaza, but it's all over the country and maybe all over the region. I mean, it's
I do agree with you, and this is also, it's also accompanied on restrictions on various also other advocacy tools that the Palestinian can make. And I want to tell you that we are now hearing like some gossips, for example, about that very soon there will be a kind of illegalization process for communication with the International Criminal Court.
Mm.
Uh, and this have actually started in the US, already started, as we know. We have also seen a very, actually, let's say, a very scary declarations by Trump in the last 2 days, in particular related to the ICC and working with the ICC and the accountability for the, various human rights violations, whether in Gaza or in the West Bank. So they are not only criminalizing the organizations as the six Palestinian organizations, who have been declared as terrorist organizations. They even criminalizing the advocacy tools, that it's peaceful tools allowed by the international community. Very soon it will be a crime, in fact, to sign on a submission to the International Criminal Court, you know. And we are having fears to do that also against other avenues like the Human Rights Council or the United Nations in general.
I mean, it is also, I mean, the shrinking space, it has been for civil society, it has been an issue for years. But lately, there seems to be a serious attack on civil society, especially in Jerusalem and in the West Bank. Um, so it's a deteriorating situation. And few days ago, I'm not sure, maybe a week, that there was rumors that Israel, or not rumors, reports, sorry, reports that Israel is allocating $150 million um, to improve its image or to attack organizations that damage its image. Do you have any information about this, more details, and how is it affecting us?
Well, actually, yes, we start to. We know that the main target here is the UNRWA and its institutions in particular first. So we start, for example, if you have heard, one of the oldest clinics in the old city was closed 2 days ago. It was run by the UNRWA. It's in the Afghani corner inside the old city. Um, it's one of essential centers that were delivering, initial medication to Palestinians who don't have any medical insurance. Unfortunately, this was completely closed. The UNRWA is informing the employees that we need to move from Jerusalem, whether you follow us. So it seems that the UNRWA, for example, is terminating all of their mission in East Jerusalem. Uh, we start also to hear, some ban on travels to some researchers who work in organizations like Al Haq or Damir as well. Uh, this is the red things that we are seeing now. But as you may know, of course, the war against the civil society organizations have been, waged years from now. The strategical unit in the military authority in Israel have once issued a report. It's titled "Terrorists in Suits." Okay, they mean terrorists that are wearing suits, and they are talking actually about the, who is working in the Palestinian civil organizations. Uh, so now we are witnessing an individual target. I mean, like they are targeting individuals rather than the institutions itself. But the UNRWA, it's a different case, as you know.
Yes. With UNRWA, I mean, the UNRWA is also like many. we're very disappointed with, I mean, the level of resistance that the UNRWA has been doing and the international community to defend the mandate of UNRWA operating. Um, but it seems that Israel is able to do whatever they want. I mean, it's also the crackdown on different demonstrations. Somebody mentioned in the messages in the chat that, I mean, it is, yes, there has been arrests even in the UK for people doing demonstrations, leading figures who have always been by um, um, stop the war campaigns and so on. So the crackdown is happening not only in Palestine, East Jerusalem, and Gaza, but also in many of the Western
Yes.
countries that are supposed to be defending freedoms or 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 at least claim to be defending freedoms, but doesn't seem the case.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, we all know about the new conditions in the European Union funding and its impact on, the civil society organizations. The thing now is that, in fact, if you want the truth, uh, we are just hoping that the European countries will not, will not just go with the storm that Trump will bring, you know. Uh, this is one of the fears that we have, and we hope that at least there will be a one, you know, reaction or one power that react to this. Uh, we believe it will be a massive wave against the Palestinians again in the West Bank, and their political and civil work in general. Uh, and yeah, I do agree with you. And we hope that, we hope that the countries themselves and the international organizations will stick to its commitments and to declare the need of protection for our rights. You know, uh,
But it doesn't seem the same, it is with Trump. Um, I mean, it's one of the first decisions that he has made is actually to lift the sanction on the 5 or 6 settlers that have been committing crimes in the West Bank, setting villages on fire, shooting at Palestinians. So it's the first decision is just lift the
yes,
sanctions on them. So that would give
yes.
them like the ability to continue to do their crimes.
Mm. Yeah, many are saying, in fact, Omar, that there are a kind of package of rewards that were given to the Israelis in order to sign the agreement, okay, to sign the ceasefire agreement. So what is clear, or what most people are talking, or press reports are talking about, is first, as you mentioned, the removal of sanctions, pressing on the ICC or any attempts to approach the ICC. We have heard about also, support in the annexation of West Bank. Uh, and this is what actually, we hear that, and we hear that this is what let Smotrich stay in the government, you know, that
War on Iran, I think that is to support an attack on Iran. I mean, there's a list of major problems that could even to destabilize the Middle East even further that continue. So it's like there's no peace coming with Trump as we've all expected.
um, unfortunately, I do agree with you. And we have also experienced that in his first phase, uh, let's say, when we also witnessed one of the most, in fact, most aggressive acts by the U.S. policy when they declared Jerusalem as a capital of Israel, and that they moved. Uh, I'm reading a question here. Have any of the U.S. businesses in Palestine and Israel suffered from the war? I think all business in Palestine have suffered from the war. And Israel just recently has declared that more than 60,000 startup and mid companies have shut down. Uh, Losses in the Israeli economy is in billions and billions.
Mm.
Gap in the budget is also huge. Tourism sector, the losses in the tourism sector is exceeding the 80%. Uh, so I don't think that there is anything was not affected, any business that was not affected during the last year, except of course weapon manufacturing. Which had a high demand, but construction, tourism,
Agriculture too.
exactly. Uh, so there was a huge collapse annexed by Israel. Yeah, this is a nice question about the annexation. Because even, what would it mean, do you think, if Trump allows the West Bank to be annexed by Israel? What would it look like? Yeah, this is a good question because, because I sometimes I see even Palestinians, they don't know exactly what could annexation mean. They think that annexation could mean that they will, be afforded the Israeli citizenship or Israeli residency, and in fact, this is completely, not the intended thing. You know, what will happen is first, what we're expecting, like during this year, is the annexation of Area C at least. You know,
But it's
Area C,
already annexed. I think they're talking about legalizing the annexation because already, I mean, it is Israel controls fully Area C. Palis- Barely few Palestinians live in Area C. Um,
exactly.
they've stolen the resources in Area C. There's nothing left for us in Area C. So it's already. I think they just want to legalize, the crime.
I think legalize the crime and also accelerate the settlement movement. I mean, like, even if, as you mentioned, the West Bank has been, and they are under full control of the Israeli occupation. However, now settlements are taking around 50% of Area C. And we believe that all of the Area C will be under the control of the Israeli settlements. So what will happen? What we expect that will happen, that all of the, and even if it's under control, as you mentioned, they are still some.
Area C is around 60% of the West Bank, 60, 65.
It's six. Yeah, it's even like more than 60. It's 67%. In fact, it's
67.
around 2,200. It's around. Uh,
Maybe some of our viewers don't, I mean, the people who are listening don't know exactly. I think most people do, but the differences between area A, B, and C, should we mention that?
Okay, this categorization has as a consequence by the Oslo Accords. According to Oslo Accords, the negotiating parties, Israel, were intending to hand all of the West Bank to the Palestinian Authority in 5 years, and they said, okay, we cannot do that in one stage, so we will try to categorize the geographically to categorize the West Bank into three main areas. Area A, which are the center of the cities, where are the most intensified population of Palestinians. And here in Area A, there is a fully control, security, and administrative control by the Palestinian Authority. Area A is not more than 10% of all of the West Bank, 10 to 12%. And then Area B, it's the surrounding area of the villages. It's still built. There are buildings there, but not in the same intensity as the city centers. And here there is like a mutual or shared control. We have a civil or administrative authority by the Palestinian Authority, and the security control by the Israeli control. Area C, which is the let's say the farms and the wide empty area that is expected for the Palestinian development in the future. It constitutes around 65% of the West Bank. It has full control, security, and administrative by the Israeli occupation. Now, after
The bread
1990,
basket, I mean, it's the bread basket for us Palestinians.
exactly, it's not only actually the bread basket, it's the bread basket, it's the water resource, It contain, you know, the main natural resources for the Palestinian. Uh, More than actually 60% of water resources are located in Area C.
Mm.
And they are all under control. And people who are in West Bank, in Area C in West Bank, are the worst people who are in their share of water. You know, in Palestine in general, we have 280,000 Palestinians are living completely without water. They depend on tanks, buying tanks. And even, you know, like in
They're not
areas,
connected to the white, yeah, to the water pipe.
they are not connected. They, in fact, they can hear the sound of the water in the tubes underneath their houses going to the settlements, but they never see it. Okay, so they can hear it. The tubes and the infrastructure that is feeding the settlements, you know, with water, it just run under the Palestinian houses. The Palestinian houses can really hear the voice of the sound of the water, but they never see it. Uh, so what we expect that all of that area will be completely under the control of the Israeli settlement and settler, you know, state. And the city centers on the in the West Bank, like Beit Lahem, like Hebron, like Ramallah, like Nablus, will witness, you know, receiving more and more people from the countryside. This is what will happen in the first stages.
Which are
So,
already overpopulated,
of course,
with no
you know,
resources, not enough water. Because I mean, it is even Palestinians. We get only like 15% of the water that Israelis get. I think the latest study. So
and
it's like,
they are paying four times more than the price sold in Israel. Palestinian,
and
yes,
Area C, because most of the people who live in Area C are farmers, so they are the most people who need to be connected to water and larger quantities of water, so that they can water their plants and
exactly.
survive. So not having water and being able to and paying double or triple or quadruple the price of water than Israeli settlements, it makes it impossible to compete in the market with Israeli settler companies that do agricultural work.
Exactly, Omar. يعني احنا from يعني on this sector we are completely damaged now. Whether if we are talking about agriculture or if we are talking
Mm.
about, you know, the animal resources, you know, for example, I know that from the Bedouin communities that we are closely observing their situation and their economic status as well. In the last 3 years, you know, with the acceleration of the settlements in the area of southeast of Jerusalem, it's between Jerusalem and Jericho. Uh, Bedouin communities have lost more than 80% of their animals, of their sheep, you know, during the last 3 years. So who had a 50 sheep in 2021, now he has only 10 or 15, you know,
In
and
some
he,
communities, even much lower, Osama, in the South Hebron Hills, it's almost there's no. I mean, people who had like 400 sheep, now they have like 10, 15, and they
yes,
keep it
yes.
because they want. I mean, the lifestyle, but it's almost too expensive for them. They're not allowed to go to the herding, not allowed, and it's very expensive to feed the animals if you're not able to rely on the grass and on the environment.
They cannot rely on the grass, you know, all of the areas around them, whether it's closed by the wall or it's declared as a closed military zones, you know, and they are unable. So now, in fact, they became dependent on even the UNRWA to bring food for their sheep, you know.
And
Otherwise, people cannot actually walk in Area C, you know. And now we start to witness a new type of settlements, which is the agricultural settlements, you know.
and the herding settlers, now you have settlers who are on donkeys and
Yes, you
living
know,
the Palestinian dream. Yeah, it is.
Exactly. They come and they establish the settlement exactly in front of the Bedouin community. They wear the same clothes. They ride the same like animals. You see them on donkeys. They even go to the community sometimes and they tell them, oh yeah, how we can do this, how we can protect from this kind of insects, how we can. They come down with this,
They
and they
steal also. I mean, they're stealing the donkeys, they're stealing the sheep, they're stealing.
Omar, in Al Mintar Bedouin community, which is on Road 90, it's the road to
Mm.
Jericho. A farmer, an Israeli settler, he came and made a siege around his land. And in the day after, he came to the main road and start rejecting people to pass through the road. Not only stealing, you know, it's they are completely controlling even life in the whole area. People now are trying to wave a new roads in Bedouin communities that does not actually interact with the settler areas. You know,
We have Fahad Abu Akhil, who has a question.
Yeah, Osama, I want to thank you because your presentation finished at 11:31, and you are the best presenter with clarity and focus. I just heard an Israeli professor saying the greatest fear of Israel is not Hamas or anybody else. The greatest fear of Israel is for the Palestinians to quit saying, I want a state, and like the black in America, ask for equal right as citizen. Is that a possibility?
well, يعني أول شيء first, thank you very much, Mr. Fahd, for your compliment. This actually was also, if you remember, it was also mentioned in a book was written by Jimmy Carter in the first day of Barack Obama presidency.
Mm.
I don't exactly remember the name of the book, but I remember totally the message that Jimmy Carter delivered to Obama through that book is that if Israel keep pushing the Palestinian in the corner, okay, at the
I think it's
end,
Apartheid. The name of the book is
not peace, I think peace, not apartheid.
yes,
Yeah,
peace.
yeah, I think this one. So he was saying, and exactly as you were saying, Mr. Fahd, yani he was comparing with the situation in South Africa. And he said that if you keep pushing the Palestinian to the corner, at the end, they will say, okay, we will abandon all of our rights and we want to be a third or fourth class citizen in Israel and we just want our right to vote. And let us vote. And then, in Palestine, historical Palestine, we are almost 50-50, and this, the Israeli exact, and especially the Zionist movement, the extreme Zionists, they consider that this is the main risk against the Zionists and the Zionism, and the Zionist purpose to establish a pure, fully Jewish state in Israel. So, in fact, this is a possibility. I would say, and maybe me and Omar we discussed this before, that unfortunately, on the level of the Palestinian liberation movement, we are still stick to the same dialogue, to the same principles, to the same strategies that were adopted in 1967. There are many new things now that we still need national talks about it. We want a national consensus about it. I want to tell you that more than 6,000 Palestinians in Jerusalem have applied to the Israeli citizenship. This is because of many things. One of it is to at least save their access to the city, save their properties, you know. So in fact, I do agree that this could be one of the strain, but I would not actually think that Israel would allow that. Uh, this is why, for them, a Palestinian Authority is a must in the West Bank. Not only to take over the responsibility of managing the occupation, but also to not to maintain an option, that if you want Palestine, you have that area that is called Palestine, and you can go there, you know. But it's raised more and more with, of course, now, the dilemma of the one-state solution and the impossibility of the two-state anymore.
Sama, I want to say thank you. Thank you very much for all of the work that you do. Thank you for this session. It's very powerful for people just to continue to meet, talk. We shouldn't be silent, especially if there's a genocide or an occupation or apartheid or war crimes or crimes against humanity. Regardless of the crimes that are being committed or the labels, we know there's something wrong is taking place and we need to continue to speak about it, do something about it, and encourage one another. Thank you, Osama, for all of the work that you're doing. Inshallah, we see
Thank you.
you in person here in Jerusalem.
Inshallah.
And
And I'm
see you.
person in Jerusalem, تمام, but not in any other place because it's difficult.
Yeah,
يعني in Jerusalem, okay, but Ramallah, Abu Dis, no.
yeah, I know. In
Please.
Jerusalem, inshallah.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your listening. Thanks for all the comments and the questions. It really helped me also to keep going. Thank you very much and hope to
Tamam.
meet you again.
Thank you. Thank you
أهلا
all.
وسهلا. Bye bye.